critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe.
بالنسبة لما يجيك ستيف بروس مثلا يحط لك 5 في خط الدفاع ويلعب مهاجمين.
Excuse me.
اللاعبين اللي في النص.
What is your VPN?
My VPN?
Yes.
My VPN is Spider VPN.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا بكم في برنامج نيوكاسل مع وليد. اليوم حلقة مميزة جدا. معنا من نيوكاسل الأسطورة مالكولم ماكدونالد من مدينة نيوكاسل، أسطورة نادي نيوكاسل وأسطورة الدوري الإنجليزي، الملقب بسوبر ماك نتيجة الهاتريك اللي سجل على ليفربول. 3 أهداف جعلت من هذا اللاعب من أسطورة من أساطير نيوكاسل. طبعا أنا سعيد جدا بتقديم مالكولم ماكدونالد والإعلامي ستيف ريث والإعلامي ستيف هيستي أيضا من مدينة نيوكاسل. Lads and lasses, how are the lads? Welcome to Newcastle with Alwaleed. We have a special edition, special show with the legend Supermac, Newcastle legend Malcolm McDonald, with Steve Wraith and Steve Hastie. Welcome, lads.
Thank you so much indeed, Alwaleed.
It's an honor, sir, really, for all of you joining me, especially Malcolm for first time. It's really an honor, and I am honored now to play a report to know more for Saudi fans to know Supermac report about Supermac, talking about maybe 1 minute brief about such a legend.
The legend Malcolm Ian MacDonald, born on January 7, 1950, English former international professional football player. MacDonald, nicknamed Supermac because of the famous hat-trick against Liverpool, was a top scorer. He played for several teams including Fulham, Luton Town, Newcastle United and Arsenal. Supermac is the 5th best scorer for Newcastle United of all time. He also won the Golden Boot Award with Newcastle in 1975 and with Arsenal in 1977. Won 87 matches with Newcastle, in which he scored 95 goals, and 84 games with Arsenal, which he scored 42. Supermac played for many English clubs, total of 421 games, scored 204 goals and won the first scorer award in Newcastle 5 seasons in a row, 73, 74, 75 and 76. He scored 30 goals in his first season. Supermac participated in one of the famous TV show in the Superstar competition and in running. He achieved distance of 100 meters in 10.9 seconds.
That was really impressive, and I know there is more, but I try to make it short for the program. Now we will have a general question and, of course, specific question for each of you. Let's start with the general. Start with you, Sir Malcolm, about how was your feeling after news mentioned that the takeover is about to happen?
Oh, I was willing it to happen. I think that Newcastle fans for the last 14 years have been put through purgatory. It has been a really miserable time with Mike Ashley owning the club, and everybody on Tyneside that I spoke to, they literally were saying, please, please, please make it happen. And now it has, and everybody is so incredibly delighted that it has happened. And I think we are all feeling a sense of relief because we could see that the direction was just down, down, down all the while with Mike Ashley. He didn't seem to be that bothered. The only thing he was bothered about was advertising his company, Sports Direct, and ultimately selling the club. Once he had sold it, the whole mood in Newcastle and all the surrounding areas completely changed. And it's a happy place now, I can assure you. And all we need now is the players to get out on the field and start winning a few games.
That was really great. Steve Wraith, also same question. How was the feeling when it's just about to happen? Because I remember during that time I was looking for you on Twitter. You weren't there, so I was wondering what Steve Wraith doing.
I was quite upset, and that might sound strange, but you know, for 4 years, you know, I have watched this takeover develop. I've you know, very lucky to be the person who was introduced to Amanda Staveley in 2017 when she came to the club, and I didn't realize how significant a moment that was going to be in our club's fortunes when I sat with her for 2 hours with her husband and told her about the history of the club and tried to sell the club really to Amanda Staveley. But you know, it's clear enough now that I did do a good enough job representing our fine city and our fine club. And 4 years later, it was all over. And I think because we have covered it on NUFC Matters and we have you know, we have known a lot more than many fans, it was really just a big relief. And you know, I think for me it was just almost that everything that had happened over the last 4 years it all culminated in this one moment. And yeah, it was a strange way to feel. It wasn't a very pleasant way to feel, but rest assured, by the time I was going to bed that night, I was as happy as everybody else. And the following day and subsequently the weekend, I've spent a lot of time with friends and family and celebrated the takeover like everybody else. And yeah, very happy. But it was a weird sensation for me because it was the end of the Mike Ashley era, which really has affected us all, whether we like it or not. It has affected us all in a bad way. We have had 14 years of you know, being suppressed, 14 years of not having any hope, 14 years of ultimately very poor football and poor managers, and very little to cheer about as football supporters. And we finally, last week, managed to get rid of the immovable object in Mike Ashley. And now we have a bright new era to celebrate. And I'm delighted that it's become something which we all hoped it would be, which is a project which our country and Saudi Arabia can do and go together on hand in hand. It's a happy time.
That was ستيف ريث. طبعا الاعلامي ستيف ريث راح نشغل الحين تقرير عن ستيف ريث. We'll play some report for you, Steve Wraith, to introduce you to Saudi fans.
Mr. Steve Wraith, one of the most popular faces in Newcastle City, which located in north of England on Tyneside. Nothing beat his passion of acting except his passion to Newcastle United Club. He's involved in many movies and shows like Rise of the Foot Soldier and The Cries, Dead Man Walking and Vera. Also, he has a passion for writing that led him to write many books such as The Ghost Couldn't Scare, The Geordie Connection, and Every Boy's Dream. His book, Every Boy's Dream, talks about his journey with Newcastle United club within 25 years. At the moment, Mr. Steve producing many sport broadcast shows, Newcastle Matters, that hosting Newcastle legend, journalists and fans of Newcastle United around the world.
There is a rumor, Steve, that you will be a police officer in such a movie soon.
Yes, it's not a rumor, it's true. That's why I grew the beard, Alwaleed. I didn't have a heads up that the takeover was going to take place, and I haven't grown this in celebration. I was playing an officer called DC, Michael Grantham, in a film called The Huntress of Auschwitz. I filmed my final scenes last week. So yeah, that comes out next year, next April or May, I think. So yeah, it's good to be back in front of the camera. You know, that's a passion of mine as an actor. So yeah, very happy. And yeah, I am playing a police officer, not a criminal. So it makes a nice change.
I will be looking forward to that. Steve Hastie, will come to you with the question. Just to play a little report here.
Steve Hastie has been a lifelong Newcastle United fan, a former member of the club's fan community since 2011. He represents a group called New FC Fans United and group's longest-serving fans representative. Steve Hastie is also a founding member of the Newcastle United Supporters Club and an elected founding member of the Board of Directors Official Association. You can follow Steve Hastie on UFC Matters, who produces the podcast on all the things about Newcastle, and he is a part of the Fab Fours, the most watched broadcast, hosted by the most prominent media in Newcastle. He's also executive producer of the fan film We Are the Geordies, which was released in December 2020. The film follows 11 fans and their journey in following the club during 2016 and 17 championship campaign as the team struggled to achieve promotion to the Premier League.
Mr. Steve Hastie, I remember when we did the show at evening of the Euro final, we promised together that if the takeover happened, for me, I was going to make my hair blendy, and this is what I did. So I didn't see you did your part of the deal.
I've made my hair blonde as well. I thought it was natural.
No, it wasn't that the deal, I remember. I think you said you will change something.
Is that right? Oh, you're pushing me now, Alwaleed. You'll have to remind me.
Okay, same question, Mr. Steve. I want to know what was your feeling when it was about to happen?
I think when I heard that it was going to happen, it sort of hit me that this was the end of what had been 13 or 14 years of angst that had built up in me, that had tried to get out, whether it was protesting in 2008, whether it was the setting up of a group of Newcastle supporters under the banner of the Newcastle United Supporters Club, whether it was the founding of the Newcastle United Supporters Trust, whether it was fighting for communication to the football club as part of my efforts to bring in the fans forum, where the club would start to communicate better, whether it was the fight that Steve and I put together with a few other people in the returning the old gates and having them put up outside St. James's Park, and basically then getting involved in so many potential takeovers. And then this final one was actually going to be real, and it was going to happen. And I think, like Steve, it came as a bit of a shock because we had built this up for a period of time. And then over that 48-hour period, words started to whisper out that it might happen. And lo and behold, it started to look as though it really was going to happen. So shock, excitement, and then turning up later on at St. James's Park and actually seeing the euphoria of fellow Newcastle fans. But that initial word that it might be happening, it just filled you with a combination of euphoria, excitement, and dread, because you just didn't know. You then got to the point where you think, is it really going to happen? is that carpet going to be pulled from under our feet at the very last moment? So at that point, it then became even more stressful than it has been supporting Newcastle under the Mike Ashley reign.
Because we were at the same situation last year. That's the reason of that.
Exactly.
Sir Malcolm, I want to ask you, of course, in this during almost 2 years, I want to know what did you know about Saudi Arabia during this takeover saga, taking too much long?
Well,
it must you know a lot of things now.
There's been all sorts of varying types of publicity all through this. But what I would like to say is that the Saudi Arabians involved in PIF, who ultimately did take over Newcastle United, they have grafted away for 4 years. That's a very, very long time to make one business deal happen. And so I really do admire them and thank them for showing such patience and diligence in the way that they went about to make this deal happen. It wasn't easy. There were a lot of major football clubs in this country who did everything they possibly could to stop the deal from happening. And I think that it would have been very easy for the people from Saudi Arabia to say, hey, enough's enough. We're walking away. We can go and do business where we're wanted. Well, the fact that they stuck by what they intended to do and made it happen, I think has absolutely rocked the Premier League. It is, and I think it's rocked the whole of football through Europe on this. And all eyes are going to be on Newcastle United for what they're going to achieve, how they're going to improve and achieve over the next decade. And I think that the Saudis have shown an incredible tenacity and desire in all of this, and that's why I really do admire everything that they've done in this way. They've shown a great deal of patience as well, and as far as Saudi Arabia is concerned, I've been out in the Middle East, but Saudi Arabia is one country that I haven't made it to. So I'm just waiting for the invite.
Of course, everybody will invite you in Saudi Arabia. 30 million people in Saudi Arabia, invite you all to Saudi Arabia, especially now and during the Riyadh season. So now it's best time of the year.
Yes, I wonder if that Newcastle United might be taken out there to play a few friendlies.
This is, I believe, it will happen. After we refreshing the squad first.
Yeah. Yes, that could be very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think maybe next season when start, maybe this will happen, I believe. I want to ask you, Sir Malcolm, about Premier League. They didn't expect that Saudi will be patient, as you said, and fans of Newcastle, they are also fighter and patient and pushing this to come through. Premier League didn't say that coming.
No, I don't think so. I think they feel they felt that they had taken the upper hand in first quashing the whole situation. What really alarmed me was that all of a sudden the big six football clubs who were anti the Newcastle takeover, they were vociferous about it, particularly Spurs and Liverpool. And yet, all of a sudden, they walked away. They excluded themselves from the Premier League. They were going to start with other clubs around Europe, a European league which had it had no relegation, so it was a totally secure unit only to those clubs that were within it, and they were just going to play each other all of the while, and yet. When the whole of football literally turned on them, and they were forced to backtrack and make apologies, and so it didn't happen. The Premier League, I felt, were so meek and mild about the whole thing. They should have slammed these people, and they didn't. And the Premier League, I felt, was somewhat under their control. And I still have that belief that there is too great a control by the clubs over the Premier League. It should be the other way around. But it was all through this time that Amanda Staveley and all of the people that she was dealing with in Saudi Arabia, they very cleverly just kept sticking at it, and they just kept moving on, and they weren't going to be deterred in any way. And I just felt that in the way that they performed during that period of time, these are people, I thought, who I would like to have in control of Newcastle United, because they know what they're doing, they know how to do it, and they will take this club to serious success. And so, after 14 years of drought under Mike Ashley, boy, I am so looking forward to what is coming over the next few years. I think it's going to be absolutely incredible and wonderful for Newcastle United supporters.
Steve Wraith, what's your take on Malcolm Supermac regarding what he been learned about Saudi Arabia during this long saga, and also the Premier League? Maybe do you think they see this coming, that PIF become this patient along with the Newcastle fans?
I think what annoyed me more than anything was just the objections that had been laid against this particular takeover. And, I just believe that this could have all been sorted out a lot quicker. But it took, basically a few things to trigger this. And I think ultimately the threat of legal action from Mike Ashley on two fronts. One, of course, which was the arbitration. And secondly, the CAT case, which Keith Patterson brought. I think those two particular legal stances, and the fact that Mike Ashley was prepared to put a lot of money into that, albeit, we assume not his money, the money that he'd received as a deposit from the new or potentially new owners at the time. I believe that the preliminary hearing to see whether a CAT case could go ahead told us everything we needed to know. The Premier League were very flustered. They were clearly unprepared, and clearly, for want of a better English expression, caught with their trousers down. And they knew that they did not stand a cat in hell's chance of winning the legal battle. So as Steve Hastie would say, the deck chairs were arranged on the Titanic rather quickly. The holes were certainly healed and fixed, and everybody got what they wanted in that respect. Newcastle got new owners. Mike Ashley got a chance to leave with a lot of money in his pocket, and the Premier League managed to keep whatever secrets they are holding firmly behind closed doors. So in all, you know, in all that has happened with this takeover and all the time it has taken, it's happened in this particular way, and I'm delighted that it's happened. And that's, you know, what I said at the top of the show. With regards to Saudi Arabia, I will say thank you to everybody who has reached out. You in particular, Alwaleed, when we started our podcasts to keep people informed about the takeover during the pandemic, when we set up NUFC Matters on YouTube, it became, you know, a regular part of people's nightly viewing. But you were a great contact from Saudi who responded to me putting something out on social media. I watched you on your own show, and I thought you'd be great, and you've been fantastic. There's been one or two others, you know, who have again reached out from Saudi, who I would like to thank, and also Kate Stewart in the UK, who has a great understanding of your fantastic country, and again has been very useful and very supportive on social media. So, you know, for me, it's a country that I would love to visit, and I'm sure that, as you say, Newcastle United will clearly be making plans to travel out there at some point, and it's certainly somewhere that I would like to visit, because I feel as if we have a lot of you know, friends out there, and to see you already, you know, making connections with, you know, the ambassador out there as well was fantastic. And I think with the support of the Saudi fans as well, it bodes very well for Newcastle, not just to do well in the UK now, but as a global brand. It'll give Newcastle United at last the chance to expand, and what a great place to start expanding, Saudi.
Regarding the ambassador, he's saying he promised me he will watch the show because he said Supermac is such a legend, and he said also he knows Steve Wraith, and he think that you're good center for. You must be center forward as well, Steve Wraith. And I told him, that you always play as a goalkeeper, as Bartiz, and it was a great conversation.
I was a centre half when I played. I wasn't a very good one. I had what they call in England 2 left feet. But I was a decent manager. In 20 years, Alwaleed, I was never relegated. I won 8 cup finals, 5 promotions, and I won 4 league championships. Not bad for a manager.
Yeah, and this is definitely ahead of Steve Bruce. Before I go to Steve Hastie, I want to ask you, after the celebration, and now I believe the celebration was yesterday, but now if I think right, and maybe today I did a show with Keith Patterson. Did you see, Steve, that everything Keith Patterson says, it's really happened? Everything he says, it's really happened. Regarding regarding the cat case, the arbitration, regarding we will win this case if this cat case will become in public. Everything he said, it was right. What do you think, Steve?
Steve Hastie?
No, Steve Wraith.
Oh, me, yeah. I mean, look, Keith Patterson has played, played a blinder in the UK. I've got to be honest. He has played a blinder. He's been a cog in the wheel, though. I think there's a lot of people. Some people will know, other people won't. Have all played their part in this takeover. But Keith certainly put his money where his mouth was, and did something which nobody else would have thought of. And he's got to take praise along with the other people who were involved. Gordon, we've heard about Gordon many times. Gordon is an integral part of NCSL, and there were others. Peter Baker, another guy, an unsung hero who was involved in this whole thing. But Keith was the driving force. Keith was the person who ultimately decided that he would be the one who would put his head above the parapet. He came on to NUFC Matters as well on a Friday night, which I know wasn't easy for him because he wasn't used to doing that. Social media was hard enough for him to grasp. But then coming publicly onto the show, it gave our show an extra dimension. we ended up with, you know, the viewing figures went through the roof on a Friday. They were good anyway, but a lot more people started to tune in to find out updates from Keith. So, yeah, I think it's you know, it's got to go without saying that Keith played a major part. And I've seen a few disconcerting voices when people say that kind of thing. I've seen people say that Keith didn't have much of a part to play. He only wrote a letter. But ultimately, Newcastle United Football Club under Mike Ashley and Justin Barnes chose to listen to Keith, and I'm really pleased they did. So, yeah, you know, from everyone's perspective, you know, if they see Keith, they should shake his hand and thank him, because, you know, I personally do believe that, you know, without Keith's intervention with the cat case, we might not have seen the result that we've seen. But ultimately, without PIF's persistence, PCP's persistence, and the Rubens' persistence, and what they've done behind the scenes, we wouldn't have had a buyer. And I know there was talk of other people at the table, and Mike Ashley did say that was his final word as he went out of the door at St James's Park, was that he'd actually had a better offer, but decided to turn it down because he felt this one was better. Typical Ashley. Can't just leave without saying anything.
Yeah.
You have to leave with a final word. But I don't believe that in the slightest. I just...
No, not me.
No, it's crazy. I just feel that it was sour grapes a little bit, and he just had to have the last word. But yeah, well done, Keith. I'm not sure what he's going to do now. Is he going to remain in the public eye? Is he going to stay with us on the show? Is he going to continue on social media? You know, I don't know, but you know, I'm thankful that he came forward. I'm thankful for his friendship with Steve Hastie, which brought him to the table, and I'm thankful most of all for the fact that he got involved with the takeover in that way, because I think without Keith Patterson, I think he was the match that lit the blue touch paper. I think without the match, the takeover didn't go through. And well done to Keith for bringing that to the table.
Here.
Before, during my show, this is now I'm working on it. A lot of fans, they didn't know. I mean, in Saudi Arabia, they know that the takeover happened, but they didn't know the details, especially what Keith Patterson did. And I believe this takeover saga must have a movie, and Bruce Wales, he must play for Keith Patterson role as a thank for him. Steve Hastie, regarding this saga, what did you know about Saudi Arabia?
I knew Saudi Arabia because my daughter lives in the Middle East, and she travels to Saudi Arabia quite regularly. So I knew all about Saudi Arabia. I knew about the people of Saudi Arabia. She was able to tell me about the people that she's mixed with on the flights that she's traveled with. And then also having a friend like Stuart Penman, who's traveled to Saudi Arabia only recently on a number of occasions, and met you. And obviously, Alwaleed, yourself, you've been able to educate us on the people of Saudi Arabia and what life's like in Saudi Arabia. So from that perspective, it's been a learning curve, it's been an education, and it's been a very, very good education. And it, again, very similar to the lads. I'm looking forward, if I ever get the opportunity, to visit Saudi Arabia, not just the cities, but go out and see some of the marvelous scenery and wildlife that you have, and just embrace the whole Middle Eastern ethos and be part of that. So from my perspective, it's something that I find just as exciting as the takeover in that respect, because we know that if we turn up in Saudi Arabia with a black and white shirt on, we'll be welcomed with open arms, I'm sure.
Great, Steve Hastie. I would like now to, and I'm really buzzed that I have a legend from Newcastle in Premier League, national team of England. I would like to play the video again, and I have some question from me and from the fans. I want to ask Sir Malcolm about it. Let's play the video for who missed it at starter.
The legend Malcolm Ian MacDonald, born on January 7, 1950, English former international professional football player. MacDonald, nicknamed Supermac because of the famous hat-trick against Liverpool, was a top scorer. He played for several teams including Fulham, Luton Town, Newcastle United and Arsenal. Supermac is the 5th best scorer for Newcastle United of all time. He also won the Golden Boot Award with Newcastle in 1975 and with Arsenal in 1977. Won 87 matches with Newcastle in which he scored 95 goals and 84 games with Arsenal which he scored 42. Supermac played for many English clubs, total of 421 games, scored 204 goals and won the first scorer award in Newcastle 5 seasons in a row, 73, 74, 75 and 76. He scored 30 goals in his first season. Supermac participated in one of the famous TV shows in the Superstar competition and in running. He achieved distance of 100 meters in 10.9 seconds.
Yeah, we'll ask about that. Sir Malcolm, I want to know what does you play for many clubs, big clubs. What does it mean, or what does it feel for you when you play with Newcastle United?
I think the most outstanding feature of playing for Newcastle United is the bond that you can build with the supporters. They're so open and so supportive, extremely vocal, and they want to create that bond with their players. And if you get out on the pitch and look to excite people, that bond creates and my style of play was it did excite people, and of course whoever scores the goals is always going to be very, very popular, and I was very tunnel visioned, extremely tunnel visioned in terms of what my job was as a footballer. My job purely and simply was to score goals, and the next best thing was making goals for other people. But primarily it was scoring goals myself. And the Newcastle supporters, they understood that. They understood it, and they wanted more and more and more. And so it became an absolutely terrific relationship that I had all around the city, and still do even to this day. And good heavens, it's a long time since it's way over 40 years since I played for Newcastle, but I live in the area now and have done for the last 20 years. And the relationship keeps holding. What I've noticed over all of my time here on Tyneside is that when I was playing, people used to say, "Could I have your autograph, please?" Later on, when I returned and I had a radio program, people say, "Could I have your autograph for my son?" And now, with all this grey hair, what they say is, "Can I have your autograph for my grandson, please?" So they're the stages of life that I've noticed, having played for Newcastle United.
Brilliant, really. Tell us about the hat-trick against Liverpool and the name the Supermac came from.
Well, now, Bob Moncur, who was the skipper of Newcastle United and of Scotland, in fact, he had written a book, and he asked if I and two other players, David Craig and Frank Clark, would join him on the Saturday morning and go to a famous bookshop in Newcastle called Waterstones, where it was arranged for him to be signing books that people were buying on the first day that it had been released. And there was quite a queue outside of the shop, and the four of us sat there for a good couple of hours signing all the books. And then Bob, he took us from there to have a light lunch in a local restaurant, and then we walked up to the ground, and this was my home debut coming up, the first time that I played in a league match at St James Park. And as we walked through the town, the atmosphere that I could sense was building was so immense. You know, I come from Luton Town, who played in the division below. We used to get at Luton somewhere between 8,000 and 12,000 people. And just looking around on the streets, there was 8,000 to 10,000 people, and they were all wearing black and white, covered in black and white, and they were singing their songs and chanting. Then the atmosphere was building and building and building, and we got up to St James Park, and I sat in a dressing room, and you could hear the thumping of feet on the terraces, and the roaring and shouting and singing going on as people were coming into the stadium. The atmosphere was absolutely electrifying. So we got out onto the pitch, and the roar as we came down the tunnel was something I had never experienced before. And the game started. Now, Liverpool at the time were one of the top three sides in the country. There was Liverpool, Leeds United, and Arsenal. They were the best sides, without any shadow of a doubt. And so Liverpool went ahead. It was Emlyn Hughes who scored, who later played for England, and I played with him. And he scored and made it 1-0. And then some while later, a lad called David Young was fouled, would you believe, by Kevin Keegan, and in the penalty area, and the referee awarded a penalty, and the manager had told me to take the penalties, and so I stuck that into the top corner and made it 1 each. A little while before half time, Terry Hibbett, who was playing in his home debut as well. There were three of us making our home debuts. There was myself, Terry Hibbett, and the centre half, Paddy Howard. And we'd all arrived in the summer. And Terry Hibbett was a great passer of the ball, wonderful left foot. And he slid a super pass in. What he had the ability to do, Terry Hibbett, was to entice the defender to think that he could get the ball, and it would sort of be dangling there for him. But he knew that I was that much quicker than the defender, who was Larry Lloyd, and so I was able just to get to it first, go round Larry Lloyd, and I smacked the shot right into the far top corner. It was a little bit spectacular, and so I sort of went running across the face of the goal to the far corner at the Gallagate end, and the players came rushing over, and they were all congratulating me. We'd gone 2-1 up against a very good side, and as we started to run back to the centre circle to get the game restarted, and I have to tell you that the hit musical that was going live in a theatre in London was Jesus Christ Superstar. And from the title, the whole crowd started to sing what was the title song, but they changed the words. Where it was Jesus Christ Superstar, who are you, what are you, and so on and so forth. What they sang was Supermac, Superstar, how many goals have you scored so far? And everybody was singing it all in unison, all around the ground. And I thought somebody must have handed song sheets around because everybody was singing in unison, and they'd never, for the first ever time, in terms of singing to me. And it just filled me with so much pride, and it was an elation that I'd never experienced before. And we went then into the second half, and again, Terry Hibbett, he made a terrific run through our half, across the halfway line into the Liverpool half. And he knocked a fabulous pass to John Tudor, who was my pro-forward. And John was never rated as a clever footballer, but there were a lot of clever things that he was able to do. And one of them was, and he did it there, where the defender was coming in as the ball was arriving to John, he just lifted the ball over the defender's foot, and it then travelled right into my path, and I was able to strike the shot into the far post. And that made it 3-1. And so I got my hat-trick. Thank you very much. I was well pleased with that, and certainly the crowd were well pleased. And and Ray Clements, who was the Liverpool goalkeeper, who I then spent some time with when we were both in the England squad. And we never got into a conversation, I can assure you. He was a lovely striker of the football. He would kick it beautifully. And for some reason, he duffed a goal kick, and it came bobbling out of the penalty area. And I look back on it now, and I think he did it purposely. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was too sweet a striker of the ball to duff it in the way that he did. And it came rolling past Larry Lloyd, and I went, and it was bobbling all over the place. And I went to control it, and it sort of hit my ankle and popped up in the air, went over Larry Lloyd, and I just started running then, and I saw Ray Clements coming out of his goal and out of the area, and I thought, I've got to get to this quick. So I literally jumped and I lobbed the ball with my left foot over Ray Clements, and I landed, saw the ball come down and hit the top of the net. So it didn't go in. It was just over the wrong side of the bar. And that's when Ray Clements just suddenly, woof, 6 studs in my face. And I thought, he doesn't like people scoring hat-tricks against him. And so I was sort of pretty much laid out and had to go off. And I was put on the treatment table in the physio's room, and I went out. But during that, I sort of my mind must have been busy as I was unconscious, and some while later, Frank Clark, who was the vice captain of the side, the left back, he came in, and I came to sort of open my eyes, and I said, "Oh, Frank, I've just had the most strange dream. I've just dreamt I scored a hat trick He said, "You did, Bonnie lad. You did score it." But so I had to watch it the next day on television to remind myself of exactly what had happened. My memory was quite hazy, but it was a great day, I have to say. Super day. We beat Liverpool 3-2. That was a good start for us to the season, particularly with 3 new players, myself, Paddy Howard and Terry Hibbett in the side.
Actually, thank you for telling this story for us. What a better way
My
to
pleasure.
describe? What a better way to describe goals from the goal scorer himself, Steve Wraith. I want to know your take on this hat trick against Liverpool, and your take on you. I think you were lucky enough to watch Supermac play live.
I personally wasn't. Steve Hastie, don't shoot me if I'm wrong, but I think you may have just caught the back end of Supermac. But me personally, I was unfortunate. I didn't get to see him play. What I am fortunate to say is that over the best part of 25 years now, I have been able to sit and listen to that story time and time and time again. And I never get tired of listening to that story because obviously, I've got a company, Newcastle Legends. We hire out ex-Newcastle players for football clubs, cricket clubs, for ex-players to go along and do evenings with, charity nights, whatever. And the most booked former player is Malcolm. And him and I go out and we do many shows. We've got our NUFC Matters Christmas party coming up in November where John Gibbo will be sharing the stage with Supermac. But I never get sick and tired of hearing that story. And, Malcolm's already mentioned it, that, people come up now and say, "Can I get your autograph from my granddad?" Well, I'm not that old. I'm not that young, sorry. It was always from my dad. My dad's hero was Malcolm. And my dad's met him now many, many occasions. They know each other very well. And it's just amazing to listen to the stories. He's got so many great stories. And let's not forget, moving away from Newcastle, he's still the only England player to score 5 goals in an England shirt at Wembley. And, we're sitting in esteemed company tonight on your podcast. And it's a delight. It's a delight for you to be able to introduce Malcolm to the Saudi audience.
During a legend event,
And there's his dog.
It's the dog, yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
Excuse me.
During the event, Steve, when you host the Legend of Newcastle, actually, I had a great time watching and listening all the stories with Gibbo and the rest of the Legend of Newcastle. It was really great. Now, okay,
fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay.
Steve Hastie. Now you are okay. Let's say, did you see Supermac play live?
Oh yes, many
great.
times, Alwaleed, many times. I wasn't at his debut. I was only 11-year-old in 1971 when Malcolm scored that hat trick. But I saw Malcolm score many goals, including what was probably, and I'm sure if Malcolm was sitting there now, in fact here he is back, he'll agree. I saw what was the best goal that he ever scored against Leicester City. An amazing shot from, ask any Newcastle fan. Some say it was 30 yards out. Some say it was 40 yards out. What we know is that it went like an absolute rocket into the back of the net. I can tell you that. And if it had hit the goalkeeper, it would have put the goalkeeper in the back of the net as well. But an absolutely fantastic goal. I saw Malcolm play many times. I remember when Malcolm signed for Newcastle, my late father said to me, We've just signed a proper footballer. He goes, this man can head the ball. He can kick the ball. He's got 2 feet, although one of them's better than the other. He's strong. He's fast. You will love watching this guy play in a black and white shirt. And you know what? He was absolutely spot on with that assessment, because Malcolm did from 1971 to 1976 when he left, gave so much pleasure to Newcastle fans during that time. Great goals, great performances, and a character on the pitch and off the pitch. And I think, Malcolm, you look back on your career as as a Newcastle United player, but we look back on your career as fans, just in awe of what you managed, and the pleasure that you gave us. I remember that's
kind of you to say, Steve. Yeah, thank you.
No problem. I remember those 5 goals that you scored for England, and I went into school the next day, and I got a clip, or I suppose a clip around the ear, because I hadn't. In those days, you had to do what was called backing your book. You had to put a cover on your school books, and there was one particular book that I hadn't covered yet, and I was told that when I came back the next day, that book had to be backed. The cover had to be put on, and I didn't have any wallpaper or anything like that I could put on the book. So what I did was I took a copy of the Evening Chronicle, and it was Supermac 5, Cyprus 0, and I covered that book with that. And I went into school, and the teacher just looked at me. He shook his head, and he goes, "Good choice, son. Good choice."
Oh, lovely. Yeah, you in talking about the goal that was against Leicester, way back then, we were televised very little. You know, nowadays every single game for the whole 90 minutes is televised, and we're all able to see every single match. And it's wonderful. But back in those days, the people who were running football, the Football League, they were frightened stiff that if there was too much television, people would stop going to the grounds. Well, what's happened over the last 25 years, Sky Television has proved that was entirely wrong. That the more you show on television, the more they want to be sitting in the grounds watching their local club playing, and so that Leicester game, there was no camera there, so the goal was lost, and lost to the game, lost to sort of history, if you like. But it just remains that memory in the 50,000 people that were there on the day. So it's all our little secret.
That's right.
You had to be there to see it, and well, what I would say on that was that when I struck it, and it was from one of the physios, he went and paced it out, and he said it was 42 yards.
42.
Because Irvin Natris had crossed the halfway line and was about 8 to 10 yards in the Leicester half, and he squared it, and I just came on and hit it first time. So it was about 42 yards, and when I hit it, what I sensed around the ground was one of those, "Oh, he's not in it from there, is he?" You know, and there was this grumble that sort of went around, and then silence, and then you sort of heard this intake, this very heavy intake of breath from all these tens of thousands of people, but it wasn't immediate when the ball hit. I think people were quite shocked that I had the temerity to actually strike a shot from so far out. But it was the pass from Irvin Natris from my right. The pass came along, and it was absolutely perfect to my run. It couldn't have been any better. And I always remember a few years after that, I was watching Gary Player, the South African golfer. He was giving golfing lessons on the television. And he said, "Right, today," he said, "we're going to concentrate on the driver." And picked this club out of his bag, took the hood off, and he showed everybody his driver, and he said, "This is the hardest club in the bag to use, the hardest club." He said, "Now, with this club, I have hit probably somewhere in the region of 10,000 shots. And I've only ever hit one perfect shot out of all that." And I thought, that's it. I know exactly what you're talking about, because that was my perfect shot against Leicester. And it had never happened before. It was never, ever going to be repeated, because it was just the absolute perfection of the ball and the boot coming at exactly that precise time where they could meet to perfection. And it never happened again. I hit sort of a lot of other goals, but never anything quite like that. And just the memory of the actual strike, because it never deviated at all. It just kept rising. And after 42 yards, it hit the net at about 5 foot high. So it sort of came up very gradually. And I have a photograph where the goalkeeper is at absolute full stretch, and his body is horizontal, and he must be 5 foot off the ground, and he's reaching, and you can see how he's stretching his body, and he didn't get anywhere near it.
You did score another spectacular goal, Malcolm, where the goalkeeper didn't actually move, if I remember rightly, and that's the one when the throw-in was taken against Bolton, and it came over your shoulder, and you swung and hit that, and that was a fairly sweet spot that you hit. But I remember, I think it was it Barry Siddle that was in goal for Bolton?
It was Barry Siddle, yes.
I remember rightly, he stood and he turned, and the ball was in the back of the net.
That's right.
And I think there was silence from the Bolton fans at that moment, but certainly not from the Newcastle fans at the other end.
Right. Well, it was something that Tommy Craig and I came up with, that if there was a throw-in to be taken around at the sort of level with the edge of the box, that if I went sort of onto my left foot, the centre half, I would lose him, because if I spun round and the ball came onto my right foot, which was my weaker foot, if you like, I would have the space then to volley it. And so we tried it in the game the week before, and actually I hit the bar, but we said, well, that was close enough. So yeah, let's keep trying it. And we tried it again against Bolton, and that one was absolutely perfect. And Barry Siddle, he just he just watched it going over. There was no way he could get to it at all. I remember he was at a social club do that I was at, and he came over, and he actually said that's the best goal that's ever been scored against me. And and I think that he must have played about 700, 800 games. He had a very long career, so that was quite a compliment coming from him, because he had a lot of goals scored against him.
This
I think
is really
what surprises us, Alwaleed, there is Malcolm just described something that is unique, something that we haven't heard from at Newcastle, and that was players actually talking on the training pitch and devising something that could work. And I think under
that's
the
right.
coaching regime, you begin to wonder whether that happens today.
Yes, yeah. We would practice things on the training field, but at the same time, as you're putting the ball down, you're looking at all the time to see just what's on, as one of the defenders perhaps not quite kept up with one of your teammates, and you can play him in. So you've really got those two options, and I think you're right. I'm not so sure that there is as much practice done these days as we used to do back then. But what you have to remember today is that the balls are quite different that they play with, but also the pitches are absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Every single game. When I was playing back in the 70s, the pitch that we played our first game on was nowhere near as good as the pitch today that they play the last game of the season on. It is now. I don't know whether you're aware. I was quite surprised to discover 2 or 3 years ago when I was invited on to St James Park, and I could feel something quite firm under my foot as I walked on the pitch, and so I got down and had a real good look and sort of parted the grass. And where the grass comes up, what they do is they lay through the grass so that the grass grows up through it, a very thin but very strong sheet of plastic. And it's all holes for the grass to grow up. But at the same time, you can't get your studs through it to get underneath the grass. And so you never see a divot these days.
Yeah.
Never see a divot. And so it's always in perfect nick because of that plastic on there. And so, my word, the state of the pitches is absolutely fantastic. Really is.
Actually, I'm sad that I didn't celebrate in Newcastle this time because we all got suddenly the news of the takeover. So, but for me, today is Thursday. This is the week anniversary for the takeover, and I celebrated with you, especially with Sir Malcolm McDonald, Supermac. So this is a week celebration. I would like to couple of things before I forget, before to move to last part in the show. We want to say happy birthday to the most famous dentist in the town, Dr. Neil Mitchell. Happy birthday for 50 years old. Also,
happy birthday to him. Yeah, happy birthday, Neil.
Also, there is a celebrity in Saudi Arabia. He's lucky he got his visa today. He will go into the town. He wanted me to ask a question. His video was popular on Twitter in Saudi Arabia and in Newcastle. He said, ask Supermac when you will play a friendly game with the legends and the club, something like that.
Who, me?
You and the legend of the Newcastle make like a celebration or friendly game.
Well, I certainly wouldn't be playing, that's for sure. Good heavens above. Not with 2 artificial knees.
You could manage the team.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, we could have some fun doing that.
Steve, there is maybe friendly.
Yeah, I was going to say, Alwaleed, that I think there's going to be a lot of interaction coming between the people on Tyneside and those of you in Saudi Arabia. There's obviously a huge love of football generally in your country. And can I ask you, please, has this takeover of Newcastle United by PIF, has really excited people in Saudi Arabia?
It's very excited, especially the one who really like football, and they are, I believe, they are. Saudi Arabia they are 30 million, and they all support Newcastle now. But regarding the fans who really football to the core, they are very crazy. They're starting thousands of accounts on Twitter, and they all ask me, "What is from where you get your shirt?" Because obviously this Newcastle shirt is still not available here, but it will be soon. Everybody looking for Newcastle shirt. They are actually also my channel now become popular in Saudi much more to know. They discover that I cover Newcastle saga those 2 years. They are very excited. They are start to know, read about Newcastle, read some documentary because YouTube have a lot of stuff there. Also Google. Very excited. They are so happy that we win this takeover after fight with the Premier League, and really I receive a lot of questions, but definitely I can't ask them. I can't ask all of it now.
Well, you keep those questions, and we can always do this on another occasion.
Of course. Last topic I want to play. This is from the film We Are Georges. Let's play this exclusive trailer translated to Arabic, and maybe I have general question about it.
This is what we've waited all summer for.
What makes Newcastle United so special to the fans?
It's tribal. You come out and all you see is black and white.
Unlike Manchester and Liverpool, the city unites behind the club.
It's part of what growing up in the North East is about. It's who we are.
And yet this is a club that hasn't won a domestic trophy since 1955.
For years this club has gone with one mistake after another.
When you're a Geordie, you get kicked. You just get up and get on with it.
The Championship has been a graveyard for some huge clubs.
It's simply about promotion to the Premier League. Can they do it?
They kind of have to, really.
With a manager like Rafa, we've got hope.
We haven't had that for a long time.
How are the lads?
Lovely finish from Matt Ritchie.
5 straight wins for Rafa Benitez's side.
The script is written, but anyone knows that. We do it the hard way.
Big problems for Newcastle United.
Newcastle United are embroiled in a major investigation by the taxman.
I am livid.
Rafa Benitez could walk away.
We're always just one Mike Hastie manoeuvre away from the whole club imploding.
You've always got to try and have faith.
I can't do a lot of things that I used to do, but I want to capture those moments in life where you just feel euphoric.
And it's fired into the back of the
net. You do just start to hope.
Newcastle are in peril again at home.
I don't understand. You might not do it. This is crunch time.
The amount of miles fans put in just shows the passion.
We are mental and we are mad. People from this area are so proud of the football club.
We are the heart and soul of the city.
I've always beaten Newcastle and I hate the park.
It means everything to us. Everyone come together, the Newcastle family, their heart is black and white.
And that's football.
It doesn't really matter, but it does.
It doesn't really matter, but it does. What you can share about this?
It matters, all right.
Yeah, NUFC matters 100%. I mean, that's why we called the podcast NUFC Matters. It matters to millions of people, not just in the UK, but across the world. And it's something which, you know, some people live their lives for in Newcastle. Some people, their entire lives are taken up by saving money from their week at work to go and watch Newcastle, not just at St James's Park, but all over the UK, travelling to games, win, lose, or draw, and in happier times, spent a lot of money going across the continent and going across Europe and playing in various countries. So it's it's very, very important. And the film which was made and met with such fascination, I guess, by the fan base, was brilliant. We Are the Geordies. It's a must watch, and hopefully there will be a second one, because that film was made at a time when Mike Ashley ran the club, and as we all know, we've talked about it tonight. Mike Ashley ran the club into the ground. Really, he only used it to promote his own sports brand globally. Whereas now we have hope. It would be nice to have maybe a We Are the Geordies 2, where we see see some joy, see some smiles on people's faces, see some interaction potentially from the owners on the film, but also hopefully see something which we haven't seen for a long time, which is a bit of success and a trophy.
I like the word. It's a tribal, so it's remind me of the cult.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, football is tribal in the UK. Newcastle and Sunderland, although they are a couple of divisions apart these days, is the biggest rivalry we have. But there is rivalry. Liverpool and Manchester, Arsenal, Tottenham, Celtic, Rangers, Newcastle, Sunderland. It's all there for everybody to see, and it is very tribal. And that. As long as it doesn't get out of hand, it's fascinating. It's great, and two sets of supporters in a stadium singing against each other. There's nothing better than that on a Saturday afternoon at 3:00, and especially at St James's Park.
Steve Hastie, what you want to share with us about this movie?
Yeah, I mean, the film was a journey through that promotion season, as Steve says, and you know what, we've got unfinished business, because that film took us to the point where Mike Ashley turned around in 2020 and said, "I'm going to sell the football club." So the following bit that's missing is the sale, and then the club moving forward, and that's a story yet to be told, and it's a journey that we're hoping that we have the people of Saudi Arabia and the supporters of Newcastle United in Saudi Arabia and the people of Saudi Arabia to be part of, and to be part of that journey, because there is a story, we believe, that is yet to be told about being a Newcastle United fan, wearing the black and white, wearing it with pride. And there may be 52,000 inside St James's Park. It may need to be bigger. We may need to have a much larger St James's Park with extensions put on it to fill that ground even further. But with the millions of people in Saudi Arabia who are going to be following it, the people in other parts of the Middle East, and the Newcastle fans that live worldwide in virtually every country in the world now, they're all going to be watching. They're all going to be following, and it's just an exciting time to be a Newcastle United fan. But when that film came out, it shows the journey, a very, very small microcosm of what Newcastle fans are like, dedicated, full of hope, full of desire, full of dreams. We fulfill those dreams. And if we can fulfill those dreams in the next 5 to 10 years, as Amanda Staveley said in one of our very first interviews, then it's going to be some journey that we're going to be taking on. Because as the guys have mentioned, we haven't won a domestic trophy since 1955. We haven't won a European trophy, or we've only won one, and that was in 1969. And there's a story to be told. And if you're going to be part of it, Alwaleed, and Steve's going to be still part of it, Malcolm's still going to be part of it, and I'm still going to be part of it, that's a journey that we'll drive on together. I believe you, me, and we'll have a great time.
Great stuff, Steve Hastie. I wish if I will be involved somehow for this kind of movie. Sir Malcolm, I believe you see this video different from all of us. What did you feel when you watched the movie, and your take on it?
It was... I think what it did was it just showed that the wonderful joy and the awful feeling where you're wanting to get promotion, and and a result goes against you, the emotion that supporters go through is absolutely huge. They go up, they go down, they go up, they go down with the results, with the performances. And in the end, you realize that a supporter's life is sort of, it's hanging on the performance, on the scoreline and what have you. And it's as some very once famous fellas said, his name was Bill Shankly, and he said it's not a matter. Football is not a matter of life and death. It's more important than that.
Sir Supermac, tell us about, choose one player or one striker, number 9, to come to Newcastle.
One striker.
You want him to see him next striker in Newcastle. Who you want him to be?
It's a very good question. Very good. I watch what's going on at Liverpool up front. They can score for fun. How I would like to see something like that. Steve Bruce, the manager, he will be leaving very, very soon. But he has had this tendency not to even play a single forward. And to me, that's sacrilege. And when he does play a forward, he plays just one. And he's poorly supported in the main. And I really am of the belief that if you are going to seriously entertain and get results and make your club successful, you must have 2 real quality forwards who are, dear me, just plucking I wish you'd given me some notice on this one, because just plucking names out of the air is quite difficult. Finding 2 players who can actually interact together, as Liverpool have got in Firmino and Salah, they're terrific. You can see them seriously causing consternation with the centre halves that they're playing against. Plus, in the way that they play, Liverpool just flood forward to get the support around them and to get the supply going in. Whereas Newcastle don't have that. They just don't have it because they haven't got the forwards up there anyway in the way that they're playing at the moment. And so there's no appetite in defenders to get forward, fullbacks to really get forward because they can make a 70-yard run, get a cross in, and there's nobody in the box, and it's all for waste. And I've seen that happen time and time again. Let me have a good think about this, and I'll give you the 2 names.
Oh, great.
That we go on air. How's that?
Great. Agree. Last thing, I want to know your message to Saudi Newcastle fans. So I will translate it and post it on the Twitter. Your message, Sir Malcolm.
Well, I really would say to them that there is something very, very special, something very big that is going to happen at Newcastle United. It's thanks to the owners in Saudi Arabia now of Newcastle United. And it would be lovely to see Saudi Arabians coming to St. James Park and sharing the joys of watching a team, and a winning team at that. That's what I think we're all looking forward to. But I think there's tremendous bonds that are going to be built between Saudi Arabia and Newcastle. It's going to be a very exciting time for everybody. Do you see a lot of your country folk wanting to come over here to watch the games, or will you just rely on the television?
They are, and they ask me if I have tickets.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And have you?
I have someone know who have to get the tickets.
Let me see if I've got one. No, yeah, well, it's a good point that Steve makes, because if this success does come along, then I can see a need maybe to expand the ground by as many as 25, 30,000. And if they can't do it at St James Park, then would they consider, and I'm sure that they would, building a new stadium somewhere close to the old stadium? It may well happen. It may well happen. Exciting times.
Exciting times, happy times. This was a real pleasure and honor to have you in Newcastle with Alwaleed. This is anniversary for announcing the takeover. كان معنا الأسطورة مالكولم ماكدونالد سوبر ماك والإعلامي ستيف ريث والإعلامي ستيف هيستي من نيوكاسل. استمتعنا بحلقة اليوم. نتمنى لكم أنكم قضيتم وقت سعيد. نراكم إن شاء الله في حلقة قادمة، ونراكم لاحقا. تصبحون على خير.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say